Are the Washington, D.C. monuments better during the day or at night? The answer is less obvious than you might think, so let's take a deep dive into this question. Hello, my name is Rob. I'm a tour guide and the founder of TripHacks DC Tours. On this channel, I share my best tips, tricks, and hacks for exploring Washington, D.C. And over at triphacksdc.com, you'll find info about tours and more. As a tour guide, I've given plenty of monuments tours, both during the daytime and after dark. So I like to think I have a bit of experience with this. And 4 years ago, when TripHacks DC was still a baby YouTube channel, I said this: tour the monuments at night. Most locals know that the best hack for seeing the monuments is to go after dark. So, was I wrong? Or am I sticking with that advice? I think I was sort of wrong. Not because some of the monuments aren't spectacular after dark. They are. But because the situation is a little more nuanced than I made it out to be. And hey, if you're watching this because you're planning a Washington, D.C. trip, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as I have a huge library of Washington, D.C. travel videos and many more to come. With that said, let's get started. Now, when I think people give the advice, see the monuments at night, they're really referring to 3 of them: the Washington Monument, World War II Memorial, and Lincoln Memorial. I'm going to be honest, these 3 memorials are absolutely spectacular after dark because they're lit up by these huge spotlights. You can see them from miles away. And the fountain at the World War II Memorial is just incredible. But those are just 3 monuments. And on a typical TripHacks DC Monuments tour, we see 8 monuments. So what about the rest? I actually think the Vietnam Memorial and FDR Memorial are both better during daylight hours. And this may be controversial, but I actually like the Korean War Memorial better during the day too. And the Jefferson Memorial, while lit up similarly to the Lincoln Memorial, I actually think is best seen from a distance. One of the reasons why the TripHacks DC Monuments Tour starts at the Jefferson Memorial is because I learned early on that people don't actually like ending over there because it's not especially well lit in the adjacent area. You're pretty far from the metro and it's kind of a long walk back to the main drag. People told me they just didn't feel comfortable. So now we end at the World War II Memorial, which I think people like a lot better. Another important variable is that it gets dark at different times depending on the month of the year. What I mean is, if you signed up for a TripHacks DC Monuments tour in December and we started at 5 o'clock, the entire thing would be completely in the dark. But if you signed up for that exact same tour in June and we departed at the exact same time, 5 o'clock, the whole tour would be in the daylight. And you might think, okay, we'll just adjust the tour time to match with the changing sunset, which means the winter tour might be from 5 to 8, and the summer tour might be from 9 to midnight. And while this all sounds perfectly reasonable in theory, it's really difficult to operate a late night tour. One reason is that families with kids is a core customer base for a lot of tour companies, including TripHacks DC. And if you're a parent, you just know it's not that realistic to have kids out on the National Mall really late at night. Actually, I am really curious, so leave me a comment and let me know if you agree. Remember that a lot of people will have spent the entire day already going to museums, doing sightseeing, walking 20,000 steps, and in the summer, doing that all in the heat. So by 9 p.m., they're totally wiped. Another thing is, it's really hard to staff late night tours, especially when tour guides rely on public transportation to get home afterwards. So that's why many tours, even if they have the word night in the title, or they're called a Moonlight Monuments Tour, or something like that, will still operate mostly in daylight, unless it's winter. Okay. So what's the right answer then? Especially if you're visiting in the summer when the days are really long. My advice is this: take a guided monuments tour whenever it's offered and you can fit it into your schedule, whether that's first thing in the morning, early evening, or whenever. Learn about the sites. Ask your tour guide a ton of questions. Then, if you want to see the monuments after dark, come back on your own and focus on the 3 that I mentioned earlier: the Washington Monument, the World War II Memorial, and the Lincoln Memorial. Those 3 are all right in a row, and you can walk easily between them in about 1 hour. So even in the summer, when it's not dark until after 9 o'clock, you don't have to stay out until midnight to see the monuments at dark. And remember, there is no rule that says you can only see the monuments once on a trip. These are all so amazing that you probably won't regret seeing them twice. But hey, I'm curious, what do you think? Have you seen the monuments before? In the daytime? At night? Let me know down in the comments. And hey, if you made it this far, then I highly recommend another Trip Hacks DC video. So go ahead and click or tap right over here to watch the next one. And if you're coming to DC and interested in signing up for a Trip Hacks DC guided tour, you can click or tap on the Capitol Dome on the left side of my head. That'll send you right over to triphacksdc.com where you can see all of the tours that we offer. Enjoy your trip!